Yoru is gonna have to. Yoru won't be a great agent until we figure out a meta that's gonna work for him. I think that we're way too young in the game to utilize teamwork and agent synergy in order to make a player like Yoru work. Yoru will be successful with agent synergy, and that's it in my opinion. So we're way too young in the series for that.
Let's dive in. Patch notes, baby, because if you're watching VCT last weekend, not only, of course, did you get to see myself, but also you would have seen us still playing with stingers and frenzies every fucking round. Well, 2.03 brings changes to all of those weapons, a buff to the Marshal, and then some updates to, it's a minor tweak, I think, to Brimstone and Phoenix, but I think the Reyna changes definitely are of interest to many of us. Let's start with the guns, though. Marshal, first of all, price decrease, zoom magnification increase, and they can move at 90% of your normal speed when zoomed.
Pretty crazy, actually. That means your jiggle peaks with the Marshal is going to be a lot more advantageous. And when you have a nerf from a Stinger that doesn't do as much damage on that long range, for that second round force buy could definitely be doable, right? You've decreased the price too. So it'll be fun to watch how that develops.
I really like the fact, and Vance, you coming from Counter-Strike, the Marshal, excuse me, the Scalp, whatever it is in Counter-Strike, that play is really exciting. Now that we might get that type of variety in Valorant, that's gonna be sexy. We saw some Marshal play in the VCT not too long ago, right? Like yesterday, I think, where someone was popping off with it, and it was really fun. So I like the fact that that is another gun that's gonna be added to our arsenal.
I mean, you guys saw there the Stinger changes, right? So obviously the spread increased, and now it kicks like a Bronco, especially at long range. So I think that
that's important.
So a lot of players have said this doesn't really address like the issue itself. I think like what a lot of players, okay, some players, not all, have an issue with is the fact that you can run and gun. But we kind of talked about this last week, right? The framing of this particular strategy now, and Riot want to make it more specific. It's like if you want to run and gun, you have to deal with, you know, extreme recoil and high spread. So you need to be probably closer to your foe here. They still want to make it viable. Thanks for bringing this back up again. So the fire rate gets reduced at full auto, and the spread is maximum after the fourth bullet, not the sixth. So you're getting max spread quickly, and you have it picking up on you. So that's three things you sort of need to try and counteract. And you know, we should hope that we don't see too much like cross map Stinger play. Round 2 has just been a nightmare in a lot of games, or round 2 of the half. Just because it ends up being its own pistol round, because being able to force Stingers and frenzies kind of puts you on even footing with the opponents. And we've seen some teams try and force like they win the first round and they buy Vandals round 2 just to try and deal with it, and they still get rolled at long range across the map by Stingers. So hopefully this works.
And the other thing that's important to note on those patch notes is the ADS, right? The kick on the verticality of the Stinger has also been nerfed, which means like you won't have that play where Nitro is in the tube and aiming down the sight and getting 3 headshots in one shot. So you really have to actually get much closer in your battles and really choose better positioning on your Stinger position. So I think it's still a good nerf, and I think it's a good balance to still enable the run and guns, because you also don't want to eliminate the SMGs from the game by nerfing it too much.
I agree with him.
It mentioned Pat in the chat mentions as well. Wardell was like a prolific scout player. Remember, like he always used to in Counter-Strike, like he just used to buy the scout all the fucking time. Yeah, he loved it. Now, so that's, you know, there was concern about like the operator getting into people like Wardell's hands a little bit later in the picture because the price got increased, and you know, everyone's like, that's fine, he can rifle as well as any of them. You know, like I just hear Taylor's voice in my head. But I mean, he sounds much more attractive than that. Sorry, but now at least, you know, there's an alternative that Wardell can pick up the Marshal and maybe feel a bit more impactful. For example,
it's a 2-hit kill, anyways, right? One hit if you don't have armor.
In the face, I think it's 1-on-1.
In the head.
Yeah. Okay. In the face, I think it's 1-on-1. So no armor, it'll get a kill. But also, you're starting to see a little bit more Guardians being used as well, right? So overall, I think like those half buys with the Marshals, adding the Guardian for like the assist kills for the one taps, it's going to be very interesting for the development of the meta coming into this next qualifiers.
Yeah, and very quickly before we move on to the agents, I also think that people are underestimating the penetration ability of the Giggity. But the penetration ability of the Guardian.
Oh, yeah.
Just because we see it a bunch on Icebox as well. People just getting banged out through the B site by their Guardian play. So we'll keep an eye on that. But agents, let's talk about Reyna, because she
Yes.
probably receives the most significant change here, which is it's been said it's a buff
It's
and
a
a
buff.
nerf depending on the level of play.
Yeah. Why are you saying
Well,
buff, Ellie?
It's a buff. It's a buff on every level of play. You know why? Because of the simple fact that before, if you guys don't know, if you guys are new tuning in to Valorant, right? Reyna had to finish the kill in order to get that orb to either, devour or dismiss. Now she can just assist and still get that orb. The fact that that's there. Now, the thing about Reyna that we always poke fun at in ranked games and, lower tier level of professional gameplay is that she is only good after she gets a kill. And if you don't get a kill, you're shit out of luck, right? Now she doesn't even have to get a kill. She can contribute to games and be game changing just by putting in 1 or 2 shots. That is incredible. Yes, you minimize the amount of dismiss and devour that she's able to use, but still, how many of those do you actually need around for a play after
4.
the kill? Exactly.
Yeah.
Not 4. 2 is enough. She's
Yep.
still a game changer, but she's even better now.
That's right. You need a minimum of 50 damage for you to be able to get an assist. That means the orb comes out there. If you even look at the cost, that increases from 100 to 200. Overall, it still comes to the same price as how much you have to spend for your Devour and your Dismiss orbs, because you've been reduced from 4 to 2. So your economy overall with Reyna doesn't change. Getting the assist on the to get the orbs is a big thing, especially for information and trades. I think it's still pretty good at the pro level. Just that, it's just the fact that you might have less, and that's it. But I think it could still be very viable. Maybe some players would use it less, but something like Shot Up, I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps using him. Shot Up and Thief.
Yeah, key term that
Reyna
Van
is-
said. I'm so sorry. Key term that Van said, the
Oh,
economy
you're-
does not change. But go ahead, Uber.
I think Reyna is normally the second swing as well in a lot of the setups. So this ordinarily, because you want the Reyna to not die if you're trying to swing her in a trade situation so she can get the orb. Now, even if your first swing actually gets the kill, Reyna can still dismiss or even devour and push up here. So this actually makes things a lot handier, because rarely do we really see Reyna play on her own, because the risk of her dying before she can get any sort of reset is sometimes too great. And also the Leer is just really poor to create entry opportunities on its own.
Yep.
It's only a near sight, right? There's no smoke, there's no real flash. Like, it's not a true flash in that sense. So we don't see Reyna play solo. So this is only a buff for her. And maybe at like lower levels of play where there's less coordination, she feels weaker because she doesn't have as many charges of this ability, or it's more expensive to play, like to buy these charges. But I don't really think we've seen too many situations of Reyna sort of dismissing 4 times. And even if she 1v5s, she's not using every soul orb in that case anyway.
Only
So-
scary one was like pistol, Devour, 2 orbs at the same time. You're just sitting there being a turret and shooting. So that was pretty overpowered at that point. So now at least after 2, you can be a little bit weaker now on a push
You want
against
to know
you.
how ridiculous Reyna was? I'm thinking about it right now. Every time you watch a Reyna play, especially in ranked, literally after they get a few kills, I would see Reyna's pull in 3 orbs to give her health. And it's like, that is so fucking unnecessary. Like, nerf that shit. So yeah, I think 2 is
But she's
definitely
still-
enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vance, you bring up a good point. Reyna on pistols is fucked now.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is so scary, because you only need 50 damage, right? So, and you're playing you're using a classic or maybe a ghost in the future, right? So that, I think she's more impactful in that round, but it also, again, those are more expensive to buy.
Yep.
If you want 2 charges, you're spending $400
Yep.
and you have a classic or
Or a ghost.
or you're a raid boss
Mhm.
and someone buys you a frenzy
Exactly.
or something like that, right?
Exactly.
Because now you can't buy frenzy armor or whatever. So there's like this dynamic where, maybe like in Counter-Strike, right? You used to have someone with like a Tech 9 and full armor. And you just sort of invested in them heavily, which is fun. I don't know. I like that in terms of commentary to sort of see the investment in the player and how it all works. It's like forcing around like a rifle that was saved from a previous round.
Honestly, for casting, it's going to be a lot more fun looking at pistol round and Reyna and stuff like that too. With all the changes that are happening, it's just not going to be like 8 frenzy meta, and you're just sitting there seeing, okay, who's going to get the upper hand from all the downs in the RNG. So I'm hoping that we're going to see the ghost come back, the classic come back into play, and then see what happens. I know I went back on our notes here, but I really want to mention that as well.
That's fine, baby.
I want the one taps, I want
Exactly,
them, I want
man.
the ghosts.
It's way more beautiful to cast.
I enjoyed the USPS in Counter-Strike for the same reason, right?
Yeah.
Like people just getting freaking their bells rung across the map.
And then a dink sound.
Yep. So satisfying. Okay, Yoru gets changed as well. I think that Riot are trying to position Yoru as a more attractive option,
Mhm.
just by affecting how some of these abilities work. So it's the quality of life updates essentially. Yoru can see his minimap now and eventually. I don't know why they prevented him from being able to sort of see that. And you can also, he's also able to send that information to his allies by it brings up the enemies on their minimaps
Mhm.
as well. Also the body block, which was really
Finally.
weird, right?
That was hilarious, actually.
Uh,
I love the
I-
buddy
I-
blocks.
yeah, I guess that's just a weird interaction. Maybe it's the kind of thing that you don't really
They should have
sort of
kept it
think
in the
about.
game. Keep it in the game. Think about it. That would be like the most fun meta ever. Can you imagine that happening on main stage for $1 million? Like the last round.
I mean,
Like
you
that's
joke
big
about
brain.
that.
That's big
You
brain.
joke about that, but I was casting a World of Tanks grand final where there was someone got stuck in
No.
the map in the grand final in the final round, and it actually decided it. Like that stuff is it's messed
But
up.
this is
Imagine
like
that
this
though.
isn't a
He
glitch
ults
though.
at the
Like
entrance of B. So he ults at the entrance
yeah.
of B and blocks the guy rotating from spawn when the
Yep.
spike is fucking
I
ticking.
like it. Honestly, I think that it's game changing. It'll be the only type of game with that type of attribute, right? Like Yoru. And the thing is, it's high risk, high reward because what if it doesn't work and your teammate doesn't come to get the kill? Then you come out of your void and then you're easily killed. Keep it in the
Mhm.
game. I actually think it's hilarious. And if used right, yes, high risk, high reward. But if used wrong, then we just laugh at the idiot.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah.
Well, overall, now that it doesn't exist anymore, I still find that Yoru is in a place where he might need a little bit more. At least this is from my rank experience. We haven't seen it yet into tournament play. That's only going to start coming, I think, next week, right? Because it takes 2 weeks on these changes from the old patch. So the next open qualifier will have a chance. But based on my rank experience, I think people still have a hard time playing that agent right now. The tether sound is still loud enough so that you kind of
Yeah.
know where he's coming from.
Yeah.
It doesn't
gate
really
crash
matter
is
from
the
your point
problem.
of view about the range of how much they could hear you from, because if you're a smart player, you would kind of know when you should come out into your tether from the teleporter.
Yeah.
And then in the end, I do like the ult though. That's a big change. That's a
Yes.
big change.
I
to
mean, I
help
just
your
don't know
team.
why you just
it's
yeah.
funny.
Maybe for flavor it makes sense that you can't see the minimap because you're in a different dimension. But
Yeah.
bruh, come on. Yeah, I think like we didn't really touch on this, but gate crash obviously is probably a little bit easier now. Not so much to use, but to understand like whether your opponents are actually aware of what you're doing. Because so much of what Yoru does depends on you understanding whether an opponent has perceived your fake footsteps
Mhm.
or if they know where your gate crash is, right?
Yep.
If you think your opponent knows where your gate crash is, then you're using it to bait. If you
Yes.
don't think they know where it is, you might actually use it to reposition.
Mhm.
And so the sound that it makes, now you can be more aware of the radii of when people can sort of hear
Yeah.
that. So that is an important quality of life update because it allows you to actually have a deeper understanding
Yeah.
of what impression that you have created with Yoru, who is all about misdirection. So I think that's important, and yeah, we
He's not
we
alone on
probably
that.
need
That's
to
the important part about that, though. I think that's
yeah.
Yoru is gonna have to. Yoru won't be a great agent until we figure out a meta that's gonna work for him. I think that
That's
we're
it.
way too young in the game to utilize teamwork and agent synergy in order to make a player like Yoru work. Yoru will be successful with agent synergy, and that's it, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
we're way too young in the
This-
series for that.
Shout
The
out to Shanks for
only-
trying it though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the only agent I could imagine him replacing right now is like it's the sky slot on some of these sort of compositions, but Yori doesn't really do anything to safely gain information,
Mhm.
and his flashes
Only in
are
the ult, yeah.
Yeah.
not that good. So it's really hard to see like where he slots in. Like as an off duelist, I'd be very surprised because you're gonna have what Jet and Phoenix a lot of the time, Reyna in some cases. Like
Well-
where does he fit in there?
Yeah, when you first heard about the Yoru coming out, it was mainly the Sentinels players that were really not like the Sentinel team, but people that play Sentinel agents like Steel, Dapper, maybe even Brax is like, oh, this playstyle kind of fits what I want to do as that lurk role. But now you start to realize that the Sentinel is still very important in your composition on certain maps. But
Yeah.
the other one is that the kit is not good enough for you to be able to do that type of lurk play that you want.
Sure.
Because the tether maybe could help. I think it's more to back pace than trying to get into the back of the enemy lines. But you still need a lot of time. I think right now the skill level is still very high. The skill ceiling is still very high for this Yoru, where no pro even has made it up to that point yet.
Yeah, I think, you know, why the hell would I use dimensional drift to go and find out where the enemies are, where I could fucking hit the button as Cypher and get told where they are?
Yeah. Or like throw
You know what I mean?
cabbages at Sky, or fucking throw a Sova dart. Yeah, exactly.
What are they? Jellyfish, right? They're jellyfish, yeah?
The cabbage, flying
cabbages,
cabbage, man.
Looks like some fucking Cthulhu looking
Listen,
shit.
man,
It's a
she's
green
in,
dude
she's
from
in the forest.
Ghostbusters.
What's in the forest? We got foxes, we got birds, and we got cabbages.
Now,
You
listen,
have
I think
cabbages in the forest?
We don't have fucking
forest you
jellyfishes
go
in the
to?
forest.
so the reason for that, I'm pretty sure, is that one of Australia's sort of claims to fame is the Great Barrier Reef, and Sky's a conservationist, so
That
I'm
makes
pretty
sense.
sure it has
That makes
something,
sense.
something to do with that. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, we don't have any cabbages in the Great Barrier Reef. So we just have a lot of fucking tourists, a lot of those, that's for sure.
Less these days.
Meatballs, I like that one. Yeah, I mean,
COVID help.
it's wrong. Whatever it is, because it's all translucent. And shit. Okay, you know what? We're getting off topic. Look, we're doing a watch
almost
party
did it.
today.
We almost did
Yeah,
it.
We're doing
true. Let's move on.
We're
let's
watching
move on.
VCT together, so we need to actually get this show
True,
done
true.
before that
We
starts.
almost did it.
Let's move. Oh yeah, they changed some stuff with like the sound of fire, but you only care about that if you're bad, and we already told
Exactly.
Belly, so we can just move on.